We're going to be talking about what is sexuality, what is sex and intimacy, and what are the differences between the two and how do they interact with each other. Super fun topics today. So, I am married and certainly enjoy both those things. But I'm married, so I get to. Sex and intimacy is about your relationship with somebody else. Sexuality is about the relationship between yourself to your body and the relationship between you and God and how He created you and who He says you are. Sexuality is an attribute of how God created you, not what gives you value. So, if you're looking, we did not screw up, we're fine.
We don't have the verse.
It's fine.
Should I grab a Bible?
We can grab a Bible.
Okay.
Alec, will you grab a Bible?
Thanks.
Thanks. It's like he likes me or something. So, sex and intimacy, if you're looking for biblical examples, you can look anywhere in Song of Solomon. It's all over the place. Sexuality is connected to Genesis, God creating people, and Psalms 139, which we read last week. So verses about being fearfully and wonderfully made, a precious work, an intentional one. Do you want to read the verses?
Do you want to or no?
Sure, you go for it.
Okay.
So you got Psalms 139, 13 and 14. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well.
So, first we're going to talk about what is sex and intimacy. Not the dirty nitty-gritties, but where does it come from and what is its purpose? What is its purpose? So sex and intimacy is God's gift to married couples, and it has two purposes. The first one is be fruitful and multiply, having babies, cute and wonderful babies. That's how all of you are here. I know, what a surprise. And the second part is an enjoyment of your spouse. That's the whole point of Song of Solomon. How many of you have ever heard someone say something along the lines of, don't bother reading numbers, it's boring? I'm of the mindset, if it is in the Bible, there's something to be learned from it. I just read through Numbers, it's actually pretty interesting. It's not entirely just numbers. Statistics are fun. So, Song of Solomon, how many of you have ever read it? Not a whole lot of you. There's a lot to be learned from it. Song of Solomon is entirely about how a husband and wife love each other, how they enjoy each other. So, if there's something in the Bible, you can learn from it. Song of Solomon, you can learn what it's like to wholly and completely love your spouse. Going back to the topics of be fruitful and multiply, the ability to have children and be a parent is a gift. There's a lot of parents who don't see it that way. I just had a baby. I have been rediscovering how wonderful it is to enjoy my children. But I wouldn't have that without also the intimacy of being married. Children are a gift. All of you are a wonderful and precious gift. Do you want to read Genesis 1:28? Oh, it's fine. You get to be my gopher while I'm reading. I can be your gopher.
Perfect. Okay.
God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground.
And I'm going to read Psalm 127, verses 3 through 5. Sons are a heritage from the Lord. Children are a reward from Him. Like an arrow in the hands of a warrior are sons and daughters born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. So basically, have lots of children. It's a blessing. So, I already talked a bit about Song of Solomon. It says many, many times in there to enjoy your spouse. It, in lots of ways make you guys uncomfortable because you're young. So, Sex and intimacy is not something that should be taken lightly. It is a very, very wonderful thing in the setting in which God designed it to be. But there's a lot of long-lasting impacts. The first one is having children. When Alec and I were engaged before we even got married, we had a conversation of, I'm not willing to go on any variety of permanent birth control, because who knows what it does to me. So it's possible that we could get pregnant on accident. Are we willing to accept this risk? And we said yes, and I did get pregnant on accident, but Charlie's still a wonderful gift. It's very funny, I asked God not to have kids while I was in school. I graduated 3 months before I gave birth. Be careful what you ask for. He listens, but he also giggles at us. It is very, very possible to get hurt by being intimate with someone before you are married. It's possible to afterwards, but it's highly likely before you get married, because you can get a disease. Those are not fun. And you can get hurt emotionally pretty easily. Society has changed the perspective of sex from something that is precious and wonderful to something that is often cheap and casual. It's something to be flippant about. Oh, I can just go pick somebody up in a bar. Hopefully none of you go to bars.
We're a bit too young.
Yeah, so am
Actually,
I.
you can catch me in a bar every single night. No.
So, what can happen is you can have tangles of complicated feelings, wondering what things mean, the insecurity that comes with wondering, do they really like me? Am I good enough? Did I do it right? Instead of what comes with being married, a healthy and secure enjoyment of your spouse and figuring things out together. Instead of being uncomfortable and weirded out, you get to enjoy and be giggly and silly together. I promise the first time someone farts, you're gonna laugh really hard. I think I told this story last week in small groups. When my husband and I were on our honeymoon, we were watching a movie, and I farted for the first time in front of him, and he went, wow, I think you moved the ceiling fan. That is also part of the intimacy that comes with marriage, giggling about your farts. So, sex and intimacy is not a game or something to be used for your advantage. Oh, I mangled my pages. But it is wonderful and very enjoyable when it is in the setting that God intended it to be.
Okay.
I get to talk about sexuality now. This is gonna be super fun. Okay, so I have some definitions for you really quick. Sexuality is a characteristic of your body. It is not who you are as a person, though. It is not what gives you value. It is not what defines you. And it is not who you are. It is just a part of you. A beautiful bond that is not just physical, but it is also spiritual and emotional as well. It's embracing God's design for sexuality that encourages us to view relationships with respect and reverence, knowing that they are sacred gifts from God. It's about your relationship with yourself and your body and who God says you are, an attribute of how God created you and not what gives you value. I'm gonna hit value a lot. It is connected to God's will and plan for your life. Sexuality, I feel like at this point in the world, has turned into a choice versus this is who you were born with. God has a very specific, you're really loud, a very specific plan for all of us, and sexuality is a part of it. The right use of sexuality leads us to understand intimacy with God in greater ways. The wrong use of it destroys intimacy with God and substitutes sexuality in his place. You gotta go for it. I can go for it. Yeah.
Oops, I made it to the wrong page. Sorry. Okay, Psalms 139, 13 and 14. For God created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well.
Okay. There is also no shame within sexuality. It was intended for a purpose and a reason. My brain went. I feel like at times, sexuality turns and twists, and we lose the preciousness that it is. And it also has to do with what is your relationship with your sexuality? What are you using it for? A lot of times, speaking as a woman, it can be used for manipulation. It can be used to get something you want, to cheat your way into something. I don't know, really hope none of you have done that. Or to gain control, even if it's just using a cute voice, making a cute face. Please? I know I've done that.
Customer service voice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like 10 out of 10. To get something you want or something you think you deserve. If you're not getting something right away or when God says you can, then oftentimes we'll twist it to get it sooner. The opposite coin of that is a contentedness in how God created you. When it is used in a healthy manner, typically within a marriage, sexual union is a binding force that draws couples together into one flesh, creating a sacred unity, just like the sacred unity between us and God. A marriage mirrors our relationship with God pretty accurately, I would say.
In a loving, when both people love Jesus and are working to follow him.
Yes. A secure place to be wholly loved. It's an example of how God fashioned us after him. And I got a verse.
Genesis 1:27 says, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them.
When we seek to live within the healthy boundaries God instituted for our well-being, sexuality is once again a very good gift. And it's a healthy thing. And I mean, we were all created as sexual beings.
Mhm.
It just is.
It's not something to be scared of.
No.
Sometimes it's confusing, but so is all of biology.
I don't do biology.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I created a person, that's pretty biology.
That's pretty round. That's pretty inaccurate.
Yeah, let's move on.
So, how do sex and intimacy and sexuality interact with each other?
Sex and intimacy is about your relationship to someone else. Sexuality is about the relationship between yourself to your own body and you and God and who God says you are. Again, it's an attribute of how God created you. It is not what gives you value.
It's kind of like your sense of humor. We all have a sense of humor and it is different. Some people like their sense of humor, some people don't really get humor at all. Your sexuality is kind of like that. Sometimes you're comfortable with it, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you don't really know what to do with yourself. Sex and intimacy should not be what is defining your sexuality. If you let sex and intimacy drive the bus, it derails what God created it to be. You get caught up in, am I good enough? Who do I like? Who should I like? Am I doing things right? Am I cute enough? Do I look right? Do I dress right? Whatever. You focus more on if you are attracted enough or if you get enough attention instead of enjoying and rejoicing in how you were created and how God created whomever he intends you to be with.
Sexuality is not just an outside characteristic, it's also your inside. It is your mind, it's your personality, it's your humor, it's what can attract people to you, or if people don't like it, repel them away from you. It's not just a physical thing, it is an internal thing as well. Versus sex and intimacy is a very external, sexuality is an internal.
And when sex and intimacy is driving the bus, you feel uncomfortable in your sexuality. You tend to feel more insecure. which isn't how God intended sex and intimacy to be. It is intended to be the place you feel the most secure and the most loved.
It's the most vulnerable.
It is. And when you feel secure and loved, the vulnerability is not scary. It is almost comfortable.
Safe.
Yes.
When you're living biblical sexuality, your sex and intimacy will follow in that way. It's kind of like when you're living a Christian walk and you're following what the Bible says and you have an active relationship with God, you're talking, He's talking back to you, your life will follow. You don't have to be so much worried about changing what you're wearing or changing your attitude or your words or whatever. When you have an active relationship with God, the rest of it will fall in line.
When Alec and I were dating, I told him I wouldn't shave for him. That's how comfortable I was in my sexuality. I'm a hairy lady because shaving takes too long.
Plus, who really cares if you have hair on your legs or your armpits? It's not that big of a deal.
It grows everywhere on everyone.
Exactly, it's hair. It's not weird.
So, as we said earlier, you can't let sex and intimacy define your sexuality. When you let sex and intimacy drive the bus, your sexuality loses what God intended it to be. A characteristic of your relationship with God can be very easily manipulated by the world and its perspective into how you get what you want. How God created it is, this is how we're loved and seen by people. How the world sees it is, this is how I can get what I want. I can flirt my way into whatever I want. I have seen it so many times.
I have for sure flirted my way out of a couple tickets.
Don't speed.
Ooh, don't speed. I don't
So-
anymore.
The world has cheapened what God designed sexuality to be and what is intended to be used for. Sex and intimacy were designed to live inside the healthy sexuality that is marriage. And healthy sexuality in marriage, as God intended it, is a safe place for a man and a woman to be wholly seen and loved and enjoyed in safety with each other. Do you have anything you want to add?
I do not have anything to add to that. I think we summed it up, hit the nail on the head.